Hey guys, welcome back. Cyndi Williams here today on the Bliss to Abundance podcast. We are covering an amazing topic. If you have been wondering about how you should protect yourself from a cybersecurity perspective, I have the best guest that we're going to learn from today. That sounds like fun. Keep on listening. That's what we're doing on the podcast. Welcome to Bliss to Abundance, the podcast for growth-minded travel entrepreneurs. All right, guys, welcome back. So I have an amazing guest. You're going to think that she is my cousin, but the reality is we just have the same last name. Her name is Amanda Williams, and she is fantastic, and she is one of my Wanderlust campus graduates, so she's a certified travel professional, but before that, she worked in cybersecurity and still stays in that world, right? So I said, Amanda, we have to do a show about this because I think it's one of those areas that scares people. We all know we should be scared of it, but we don't know what to do with that anxiety and that fear. So let's start the show by just saying, where a lot of the travel community follows our podcast. If I'm a typical travel advisor or travel professional, what are some foundation things that I should do from a cybersecurity perspective?
Yes, so I think the first thing is using a strong, unique password for each of your accounts. And I know that sounds like a pain in the butt. Oh, I have to remember all of these passwords, but get a password manager and it makes it so much easier. Along with that, setting up two-factor or multi-factor authentication whenever possible on all of your accounts.
Oh, that's so important. I've seen so many, I hear about in the travel agent community all the time, and just with regular users too, people getting hacked out of their social platforms, losing their pages, losing their groups, losing, all of that work that they did over time. And it's so frustrating. Sometimes they can get them back, sometimes they can't. So I love the double factor authentication. Talk to me about password keychains. Are there one or a couple that you recommend that we should look into to kind of do? And what is a password keychain? Share with everybody, just for those who don't know.
Yep, it's one place to store all of your passwords, and then you have a master password that you use to log into that. And a lot of them have browser extensions, and they make it super easy for you to use your new password on each account. A couple of different ones that I recommend: Bitwarden, 1Password, and NordPass. You can pretty much just Google best password managers, and these tech articles will pop up and give you all the information.
I've heard about a couple of those. The Nord one that you mentioned, I've heard on a few occasions. So I know my husband has one set up for me, but I don't know which one. So I just know that it works when I use it, and that works fine. But I think
That's
for
good.
agency and for agency owners, how would they? This is another thing too. Like when you have sub agents that are working for you or under you, and you want to give them access to certain things without giving them access to your entire platform or to your Facebook page where they could then take it over and run off with it. Is that a recommended practice that you use that with sub agents too, or could you use that in that capacity?
Yeah, you can definitely use that. Just set up another folder and share it with them so that they would have those passwords, but then not your other passwords.
Right.
And also, I'll always set up their own account so that they don't have the keys to the kingdom.
Yes, I love that. That's smart. Now, what are some tips that maybe we're not thinking of, or like past that first layer of foundation stuff? What are some things that we should either do or audit in our own businesses to make sure that we're on the path to protecting ourselves better?
Yes, always making sure your computer, your phone, and your browser are up to date. So if you're using Chrome right now and you see that little update button in the top right corner, take a few minutes, click that, let it do its thing. That's the best way to protect yourself against new attacks that are coming out. And then some phishing tips. One of the biggest things is you get sent an email that you're like, oh, I'm not really sure about this, and without looking at it further, you click on a link or open an attachment that's malicious. I would say take your time, hover over the link to see where it's really going. Look for funky terms or words that they're using, like kindly open this attachment. Anything that screams you have to do this now, urgency, those types of red flags in an email.
Yeah, and the grammar sometimes is just a little bit off, right?
Yes.
And that's getting worse and worse as we go. I mean, in my junk mail, I get 1,000,000. In my regular mail, I get 1,000,000. Are there any services that you recommend? Like, I know my husband's really into cybersecurity too. So we have like a security filter that every email gets run through before it hits our inbox. Are there any services like that that you recommend or that you've seen do good work to kind of help with that a little bit?
I think Gmail does a really good job of scanning emails. Aside from like standing up your own as a company, which would be way too technical, I think staying away from the older, the Yahoos, the Hotmails, and going to a more modern email solution.
Good. I love that. These are great tips. I think everyone's going to like, and you have to think about it too. You started your business, you were so busy with becoming a travel agent. Did you do these little steps that can protect you? Because nothing's worse than getting locked out of your stuff or figuring out what at risk, was in your email if someone got access to it. I can't imagine. Well, let's talk about that. What would be your security protocol if someone was able to take over your email, for example? How would you handle that situation? Or is there anything that we can even do about that once it happens?
First thing I would do is Google, look up how you can get your email account back. Usually you have a secondary email account that emails go to whenever changes are made. Obviously setting up two-factor like we talked about so that they can't get into that. And gosh, yeah, following those, reaching out to Google.
Good. I love that. Those are great tips. Any other tips that we should, like, are there any ones that we don't know that we should know, being an expert in this field?
I've written down a couple from some of the groups that I've joined and seeing some comments. And one is on collecting credit card information. Make sure you're doing it securely, PCI compliant. Collecting over text message is not the way to go. At last resort, I would collect it over the phone and type it in directly into your system.
That's a really smart one. And double check. You guys need to double check too, because I've seen people say, well, I'm going to try this service or this third party. And I'll say, did you ask to make sure they're PCI compliant? Because if they're not, and there are services out there selling, we can collect credit cards, we can do this, we can do that, but they're actually not PCI compliant when you get down to the fine print. So you have to be careful, because you are in charge of keeping your consumers' credit cards safe, and they trust you as their travel advisor. So make sure. That's a great point, Amanda. Just ask the questions if you're using a third party. If you do it through your CRM, for example, make sure that they are PCI compliant if that's the case, or any third party. I love that. What else you got for us? I'm excited about this list.
I've seen a couple where they keep all of their passwords in a spreadsheet. So I would recommend moving that into a password manager, like what we mentioned earlier. At the very least, password protecting that sheet, but I think it should be in a more secure. That way, if somebody got it on your computer, they would just be able to repeatedly attempt to crack that password if it was password protected.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, and what if you accidentally leave we actually had someone about 6 months ago, someone on staff who accidentally left their laptop at security. Like, when how you take it out and put it through. It was just like, just with the kids and running around and doing all the things. And they're like, got on the plane, like, I don't have my laptop.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, oh my gosh, it was a company laptop. Let's make sure. Now, luckily, we were protected. They got it back. It was a pretty easy process. But had it fallen into the wrong hands, that could really be a big issue. And I think about that too when you travel. And I've seen these documentaries recently, or these things on the news where when your phone is open, let's talk about that. Have you seen about that? The hijacking, where people will literally, your phone's open and they'll come and swoop your phone out of your hand. And then, have you heard about this yet?
I haven't.
No, it's happening in big cities. So what I've heard is, like let's say you're at a bar or whatever, you open your phone, and so what happens is it's like a 3-ring operation. So one person is like watching you with like binocular goggles. This sounds so sci-fi, but they're watching you with like some type of binocular goggles to see you type in your code. And then, or they come when your phone, when you already have unlocked it, right? And they're able to change your Apple ID. And then once they do that, they have everything. You'll never get your pictures back. You'll never get anything. They can go into all of your accounts you have credit cards stored to and buy stuff. And basically they just kind of go through your phone and do some major damage. So what I learned from that, in case you haven't, unless you have anything else to share, but what I learned was add a six-digit code, or use your face for the code, because that's harder obviously to replicate, and just kind of have that. There was something else in there, like to make your screen go back to the lock screen much quicker was another one. So anyway, I'm sure there's more tips out there where that's concerned, but that horrified me, as much as all of us carry phones around, right?
Yeah, that is terrifying. Just having somebody rip it out of your hands after you've unlocked it.
Yeah, it's very frightening. So now I'm like, I keep it locked pretty much all the time. So it's crazy. Good. Anything else on your hot tip list, Amanda? This is such great stuff.
Let's see. Going back to emails, that's kind of my specialty. When you get a suspicious email, a lot of the times you'll just see the display name. So Amanda Williams or Cyndi Williams. If you click like the little plus button or the drop down, really take a look at the sending email address, because a lot of times it will not be who you were expecting it to be. So check that, hover over the links, review the text, and anything that creates a sense of urgency, just take a step back and take a breather and then reevaluate.
Yeah, that name one is a good one, because they're getting really tricky where they can make it look like it's being sent from you or from me, or one of your ICs sent it to you, or a client even sent it to you, and it looks like it's coming from someone else, but then it's not. And then of course they have the links in there that will cause all the havoc inside your email. So Amanda, this was such a great show today to kind of share with our audience on some simple things. I think everything you mentioned today wouldn't take more than an hour or two. Like, even if you're new to password managers, like maybe take an hour or whatever to get those transferred out of a different place and put them into kind of a keychain area and different things that we talked about. Do that so you have peace of mind and you're protecting your business. That will be really helpful. I want to thank our sponsors today, Wanderlust Campus, for sponsoring the show. If you are looking to grow or supersize your travel business, just like Amanda did, she's a graduate of Wanderlust Campus, you can visit them over at travelschool.com, and we can help you out with anything that you need growth-wise over there. But Amanda, thanks so much for sharing all of your great cybersecurity tips today. And where can people follow you if you'd like them to connect with you online?
Yeah, they can follow me at Sunny Blue Travel on Instagram, and my website is the same address.
That's great. Thanks so much for being on the show today, Amanda. Everybody else, we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys. Hey guys, Cyndi Williams here. If you like that last video, make sure you check out all of the other content on our channel. And if you want to follow along and travel with me around the world and see how I run my amazing travel brands and get some great tips on how to grow your own, make sure you check out that other content. I'm going to drop a couple videos here. Click those links. I'll see you next time. Bye guys.